If anyone wants my treasure, then it's yours for the taking. Go find it! I left everything I gathered in one place.
One of the longest shonen series of all time and potentially being probably the greatest to have ever been written. In today's video we'll be going through the famous life of Eiichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece. Oda's journey to eternal glory was indeed an extremely hard one. I mean, he's still making One Piece chapters week after week for the past 20 years, and somehow there's barely any sign of Oda taking his foot off the gas and ending the series. So with Oda creating the legendary treasure which is the One Piece, not many of us understand the true struggle this magnificent mangaka had to undergo and the many trials and tribulations he had faced, and I reckon this video is a good way to commemorate his hard work and the many lives he has changed along the way with this series. But before we get into the life of Eiichiro Oda, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest uploads. Also follow me on Twitter for any new updates concerning the channel. This video is spoiler free since we will only be going through the early life and achievements of one of the greatest shonen mangaka of all time. Just like this title reads, I'm sure you're all very curious to what sort of goals Oda had before becoming a full-time mangaka. There's so much to uncover on who he really is and what truly inspired him to become an artist and where exactly the idea of One Piece stemmed from. So without further ado, let's get straight in. Well, Oda's journey to the top is something which we all can take inspiration from. Not only did he create this unique piece of work, but he somehow managed to keep readers enticed every week for over 20 years now, and I don't think this feat could ever be replicated. Anyways, why don't we begin talking about the early life of Oda. He was born on January 1st in 1975, which makes him 46 at this moment in time. He was raised in Kumamoto City in Japan, as this prefecture is known for its castle, as well as the famous Suizenji Park. And also another little fun fact about Kumamoto City is that in Japan it's known as the land of fire, due to it being the home to a massive volcano known as Mount Aso. Anywho, Oda was born to a typical couple during the 70s, with his mother being a housewife and his father who was a salaryman. However, his dad had a hobby of oil painting, which links back to why Oda was interested in art, specifically manga. Not much is known about Oda's family, but it's said that he does indeed have an older sister. As for the first manga which Oda laid his eyes on was a series called The Monster Kid, and this was one of his earliest inspirations to becoming a mangaka, since he claimed that people were getting paid for not doing any real work, but made drawings instead and got paid for doing it. Growing up, Oda's favorite TV show was Vicky the Viking, which was a European co-produced anime, and this is where his lifelong fascination with pirates began. In 5th grade, inspired by Weekly Shonen Jump's bestseller Captain Tsubasa, he joined his school's football club. It was around this time that Jump began serialization of Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball, and on reading its second chapter, Oda was instantly enthralled, and would be heavily influenced by Toriyama's art and storytelling abilities for years to come. Oda began drawing manga in his second year of junior high, developing ideas and sketches for a pirate serial that would many years later become One Piece. During his first year of high school, he chose to quit football so he could focus fully on manga. So I guess you guys now know the inspiration of this title. Maybe Oda could have become the next Maradona, but we're glad he chose to pick up the pen to achieve similar greatness in the manga field. Now we'll be moving on to the early works of Oda and what really made him become one of the most renowned mangakas of all time. Like I mentioned plenty of times before, this journey to eternal success wasn't an easy one, so I suggest you guys to keep a close ear on this part of this video. In 1992, during his senior year of high school, the 17-year-old Oda at the time took interest in Shueisha's prestigious Tezuka Awards. He spent 4 months constructing his first full-length manga called Wanted, a gag series with strong supernatural elements. Proud of his work but concerned his parents and teachers might disapprove, he submitted it under the pen name Suki Himizuki Konda. I mean, could you imagine? The Eiichiro Oda at first was embarrassed to release his first works because he was worried what people around him would think, and now look at him. His Wanted manga was named 2nd place in the 44th Tezuka Awards alongside 2 other works. This won Oda a 500,000 yen cash prize, which is around $4,000 and £3,000, as he also gained recognition from many industry professionals. And in early 1993, his work was published in Shueisha's ongoing Masashi Mangaka series. Around this time, Oda, under his real name, did his first professional interview published in Kumamoto City's most prominent newspaper. Oda was beginning to set waves across Japan, and his talent was shown in his very first manga series, which is known as Wanted. And to top it all off, getting 2nd place in the Tezuka Awards with his first attempt at drawing a proper manga is just insane. It's like he was always made for this. In spring of 1993, Oda graduated high school and entered Kyushu Tokai University's architecture program. Soon after, he began submitting more work to Shueisha, unaware that his Tezuka honors had qualified him not for Weekly Shonen Jump, but instead its monthly offshoot. On finding his next publication, he sought out the weekly title's proper channel, the somewhat less renowned Hop Step Awards. That October, his Hop Step entry, Ikiyako, won first place, his first unqualified success as a mangaka. In early 1994, encouraged by the honors his manga had received, and of course dreading his freshman exams, Oda dropped out of Kyushu Tokai to pursue a mangaka career in Tokyo, under the authority of editor Kaworu Kushima. Like most mangaka, Oda began his professional career as an assistant for other established Shonen Jump creators. His first assistant work was for the last few chapters of Shinobu Kaitani's Midoriyama Police Gang. Although it was only a month long, this gave Oda his first experience with professional manga production, and he cited the sheer beauty of the final drafts as important inspiration. After Kaitani left Jump, Oda spent 18 months assisting Masaya Tokuhiro through the final year of Jungle King Tar-chan and most of Tokuhiro's subsequent series Kappaman. This was his longest tenure under any single mangaka, and he developed much of his technique drafting backgrounds and crowds for both series. Simultaneously, Oda conceived many more drafts for his own manga, almost all of which were rejected by Kushima, his editor at the time. Though their relationship remained normal, Oda did not take Kushima's many criticisms to heart until his one-shot Monsters was allowed publication in 1994's Shonen Jump Autumn Special. Reading his own work allowed Oda to recognize many of his artistic downfalls, spurring him to improve. Once Kappaman ended in mid-1996, Oda began his final assistant experience under Nobuhiro Watsuki on Rurouni Kenshin. Watsuki, apart from being one of Jump's most popular new creators, was somewhat more easygoing than Tokuhiro and allowed his assistants greater participation in his work. Oda in particular was credited with conceptualizing the cross-dressing swordsman Honjo Kamatari. It's actually crazy to know that Oda was part of the team to create the masterpiece which is Rurouni Kenshin. However, despite enjoying the atmosphere and making many new friends at Watsuki's studio, Oda remained troubled by all the rejections his independent drafts were still facing. Finally, in a last resort bid for publication, he developed the pirate serial he had conceptualized since high school into a draft titled Romance Dawn. To his relief, Romance Dawn impressed Kushima enough to approve further development, and was soon published in that year's Shonen Jump Summer Special, as it gained general praise from readers. With Romance Dawn's eventual publication, Oda fell under the guidance of a new editor, Takanori Asada, who arranged for him to fill an upcoming gap in Weekly Shonen Jump. Seizing his extremely rare opportunity, Oda produced a second Romance Dawn draft within 2 weeks and saw it published. Despite this, Asada's superiors remained skeptical of the concept and repeatedly refused to serialize it, forcing Asada to argue on Oda's behalf for several months, meaning without Asada we probably would have never have gotten One Piece. And finally, in May of 1997, One Piece was finally approved for serialization in Weekly Shonen Jump, and Oda formally resigned as Watsuki's assistant to begin his career as a full-fledged mangaka. As for the success of One Piece, it sort of skyrocketed from the get-go. It's as if all those years of hard work paid off for Oda when he had introduced his new series into Weekly Shonen Jump. In July of 1997, Weekly Shonen Jump 34 premiered the first of these chapters, once again titled Romance Dawn, and to Oda's surprise it ranked higher in fan response than any of its co-features, prefiguring the series' runaway success. In following years, One Piece would expand into a much bigger franchise, receiving its first anime adaptation in 1998, and then a full-length anime series in 1999, and its first video game in 2000. All these offers began rolling in for Oda, which contributed to One Piece gaining even more popularity in its early years of being released. But as for One Piece at the moment, even after more than 20 years of serialization, its plot shows no signs of slowing down. The key to success for One Piece and Oda would have to be consistency, and I don't think we'll ever see something like this to be replicated ever again. Well, I'm sure you guys are just as curious as I am on who Oda is married to and if he has any kids. Funnily enough, in 2002, Oda met Chiaki Inaba, a young model and actress who played Nami during the Shonen Jump Festa through a cosplay, and the two started going out. She was known as a race queen who worked as a model for Japanese cars in the late 90s to early 2000s, and in 2004 they got married. Then in 2006, Chiaki Inaba gave birth to a baby girl, Oda's first daughter. Oda and Inaba became parents again when they welcomed welcomed a second daughter who was born in 2009, but unfortunately, like most mangaka and especially Oda, he's rarely able to see his family on a regular basis. I mean, he has the most popular series of all time on his shoulders and lives away from his family. They visit him once a week, and during his holiday breaks he always goes back home. They also enjoy time on vacation with each other at least once a year. I guess you can truly say One Piece is Oda's life, and hopefully once he is done with the series, he can spend good quality family time for the rest of his life. Eiichiro Oda is possibly the greatest shonen mangaka of all time alongside Kishimoto. The fact that this series has been running for over 20 years and Oda is still producing quality chapters week in, week out basically tells us all that hard work and dedication does pay off, and even with its success from the very beginning, Oda has remained disciplined to give us one of the best series to have ever been created. Even for fans who are new, they understand the hype behind One Piece and are willing to catch up to the 1000 chapter manga. Hopefully we do see One Piece prosper for many more years, but also on the other hand, we do hope Oda comes to a conclusion of this series so that it doesn't affect his health and so he can finally spend time with his family. From being inspired by a simple anime about Vikings to quitting his hobby of football and then going on to create One Piece. What more can I say? Luffy's journey to find the One Piece might be great, but I'd have to say Oda spending 20 odd years creating this masterpiece has to be even greater. Anyways guys, that was the life of Eiichiro Oda summed up and his vigorous journey to the top with the creation of One Piece. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and be sure to let me know down below which mangaka I should cover next in this series. As always, like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one.